low ascenders. So, I believe we can all agree on one thing, that one of the best things about third density life is eating food. There are times when we all wish we could just eat more. The food is so good, and some people force it down. Don't do that. Know and honor your physical limitations. They're there for a reason. Those of you who know me know that I am a vegan vegetarian in the eating department. I'm about 95% vegan, 5% vegetarian. You're probably asking what that means. It basically means I'll eat some dessert, like cake at the birthday party. Even though non-carnivorous eating is somewhat on the rise and has been for a while, when alone, many people ask me, well, what do you eat? So I think some people's approach to eating is to just eat it. But you better be careful what it is. Boy, when I originally conceived this video, I was not planning to go down this rabbit hole. So I'll first give you the top lines, provide my experience, provide some facts, and leave room for your research if you need more information. I'll go back to the beginning. To my mother's chagrin, I began ending my relationship with some foods very early in life. Milk, liver, gizzards, any organs, beets, olives, okra, yick. Though I'm very into olive oil. But it all started with chitterlings or chitlins, if you will. Oh, there's a story on how I said no to chitlins. Just ask my sister Kathy. She was there. By the way, newsflash mom, my mother, is now my spirit guide on the other side. She's still so wonderful. Back to eating. I think people should eat whatever they want to eat. Just don't expect me to buy it. Or in the case of chitlins, don't expect me to stay to smell them cooking. Some think that's not fair. Complaint is so noted. I'll take that under advisement. Then it was the water. The tap water. Very important, as you know now. But in the late 70s, my family stopped drinking tap water due to my mother's friend who worked in Chicago's water filtration plant and another that was ahead of the curve regarding water questions. We started only drinking bottled water. We could definitely tell the difference in the taste and smell, and also by how we felt. We felt much better. Regarding meat, first I ended the pork, then the beef, then poultry, and lastly the fish. Within these, lamb, oxtails, and salmon were the hardest. So let's get into my understanding of the architecture of eating. How do we think of food? And eating, there are several polarities, therefore dualities in eating. For instance, 1, regarding taste. A, good versus bad. B, sweet versus sour. C, flat versus sharp. 2, regarding sense. Nose versus tongue. 3, regarding feel. Firm versus mushy. 4, regarding temperature. Hot versus cold. Then there are the non-taste related elements of eating food. Some are value, which includes taste versus nutrition, natural, organic versus artificial, what could be called matter. Categories of matter include GMO or genetically modified organisms, processed food. Categories of food are listed as meat. Meat breaks down as red versus white versus processed, poultry, fish, and now lab grown. There's the category of vegetables, and there may also be some that are being lab grown. There's the category of fruits, there's the category of grains, there's the category of legumes, then there's the category of water. What water do you drink? Did I mention only drinking bottled water? Well, I went back to tap water after the info on the microplastics came out, but only after employing Masaru Emoto's findings about water. I now double filter my tap water with a whole house filter and another filter at the tap. Then I program my water using Emoto's findings within all glass pitchers. My family calls it love water, and I love that. I'll soon be adding a reverse osmosis treatment to get rid of the fluoride. There are also several different types or classes of eaters. 1, omnivores, feeding on both animal and vegetable substances, avidly taking in everything as if devouring or consuming. 2, carnivore, an animal or plant that feeds primarily or exclusively on animal matter. 3, pescatarian, one whose diet includes fish but no other meat. 4, vegetarian, a person who does not eat meat someone whose diet consists wholly of vegetables, fruits, grains, nuts, and sometimes eggs or dairy products. 5. Vegans or plant-based, a strict vegetarian who consumes no food, such as meat, eggs, or dairy products, that comes from animals. All prior definitions were provided thanks to Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, except for the next one. And man, was this next one a hard, relevant definition to find? Breatharian Wiktionary, one who lives without food, subsisting instead on prana or sunlight. Oxford English Dictionary info. The earliest known use of the word breatharian is in the 1950s. OED's earliest evidence for breatharian is from 1957 in the writing of H. Welch. Wikipedia, even them, breatharian, inidia, Latin for fasting, or breatharianism is the claimed ability for a person to live without consuming food, and in some cases water. It is a deadly pseudoscience, and several adherents of these practices have died from starvation or dehydration. Multiple cases where this practice was attempted have resulted in failure or death. Breatharians claim that food, and sometimes water, is not necessary for survival, and that humans can be sustained solely by prana, the vital life force in Hinduism. According to Ayurveda, sunlight is one of the main sources of prana, and some practitioners believe that it is possible for a person to survive on sunlight alone. The terms breatharianism or inidia may also be used when it is practiced as a lifestyle in place of a usual diet. I was really looking forward to sharing the past research I had found regarding the subject of breatharianism, but in my recent research for this topic, I found the foundational findings I wanted to share had seemingly been debunked, or at least discredited to some degree. Unfortunately, I don't feel the same affinity with my more recent findings. What I have come to believe is that breatharianism is a real thing, but I do not recommend you trying it at home. I can assure you it is a real thing, but I am not in a position to prove it. I have a personal story regarding acquiring non-metabolized energy, but I'm not ready to share it at this point. It's a bit WOT, or way out there even for this channel so far. As I continue on my spiritual journey, I will investigate this more deeply and hopefully be in a stronger position to provide more definitive information in the future. Also, since I initially conceived this video, I have come to recognize that more things have changed. I found an organization that has updated statistics, but they were behind a paywall. Then I found another organization that has reported on eating using that organization's statistics. And their statistics are very interesting, so I am including some of them here, and I'll link to more in the show notes. The company that provided the source information is Statista Consumer Insights from 2023. The reporting organization is Set for Set, and their report is from their blog, 22 Most Popular Diets in USA, 2023 Statistics and Surveys. In their ranking of distribution of diets, they found the highest was a high-protein diet at 18% of respondents. Next, surprisingly, was mindful eating at a close in 17%. Intermittent fasting and calorie counting tied for third place. Plant-based and gluten-free and flexitarian tied for fourth place at 6% each. Intuitive eating, Mediterranean style, sustainable tie for fifth place at 5% each. Carb cycling, ketogenic or high fat, and weight loss plan tie for sixth place at 4% each. And DASH, eating plan takes seventh place at 2%. You can see the rest of the distribution with vegetarian, paleo, and vegan, bringing up the rear tied with 1%. Just 1% of the respondents were vegetarian, paleo, or vegan. And that's why people end up asking me, well, what do you eat? Haha. By the way, I used a term there that's new to me. Did you catch it? A flexitarian is basically a vegetarian who occasionally eats meat and fish. They're flexible. I know a few of these types of eaters. Also, there's a reference to a new diet I hadn't heard of, the DASH diet. Wikipedia says, the dietary approaches to stop hypertension DASH diet is a diet to control hypertension promoted by the US-based National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, part of the National Institutes of Health, NIH, an agency of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. The DASH diet is rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and low-fat dairy foods. It includes meat, fish, poultry, nuts, and beans, and is limited in sugar-sweetened foods and beverages, red meat, and added fats. In addition to its effect on blood pressure, it is designed to be a well-balanced approach to eating for the general public. DASH is recommended by the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, as a healthy eating plan. The DASH diet is one of 3 healthy diets recommended in the 2015 to 2020 U.S. dietary guidelines, which also include the Mediterranean diet and a vegetarian diet. The American Heart Association considers the DASH diet specific and well documented across age, sex, and ethnically diverse groups. And I'll include these links to great articles in eating. I'm going to tell you about how I have decided to eat. Then we'll get into some of the realities about deciding what food you might want to concern yourself with. My architecture of eating consists of the following modalities: proper food combining, or eat by your blood type, food allergy sensitivity test, self, spirit, and or kinesiology muscle testing, metaphysical or religious impacts of eating, food prayer and its impact on reality. Are you all ready for that? No, you're probably not. People think I have great willpower, and they're right, but it starts with the willpower to limit the availability of food I don't want to eat. The key is don't buy foods you don't want to eat, or more likely foods you shouldn't be eating, which for me is more sugars and starches than anything. I know, but it's a question of discipline or self-control. It takes practice. Maybe I'll do a video on it. But there's the question of food versus matter. Oh, and processed food, much of which I don't define as food. Much of it I define as matter. At this point, most people know there are a number of types of food we eat: vegetables, grains, fruits, dairy, meat, beans, oils, and sweets. I'm going to focus this discussion only on food. And matter, that is masquerading as food. Matter masquerading as food, you ask? Well, we'll get into that in just a bit. Some may rather not discuss that. So I basically started by limiting the foods and beverages I thought were bad for me. Then I came upon a practice called proper food combining. This was after C. Everett Koop, President Ronald Reagan's Surgeon General, basically said the food some of us were eating was killing us. Proper food combining basically states the groupings of foods that can be eaten at the same time or combined for proper digestion. And of course, much of the regular American diet goes against the suggestions of proper food combining. For example, sandwiches. The next method I use is from the book Eat by Your Type, by your blood type. Though the mainstream food industry and medicine says it has no basis in science, I use it as my second level method for eating. So if proper food combining says I can't eat it, but eat by your blood type says I can, then I may combine it to see how it digests. Then I'll make up my mind. It's not cheating of you till you're doing it. The next method I employ is to take a food allergy or food sensitivity test. For the record, the last one I took was in 1999. The tests have evolved since then. Your blood is still tested against an array of foods. If the test results show an antigen, then it is not easily metabolized by your digestive system. Back when I took it, there were basically 4 levels of food sensitivity. The last level, level 4, was allergy, but there were 3 levels before that you could be taking into consideration. And there used to be eating directions related to these levels, but I cannot find them now. Level 1, few antigens. Level 2, more antigens. Level 3, many more antigens. Level 4, you're in an ambulance. The new tests are more elaborate. If the proper food combining says I shouldn't eat it, and the eat by your type says I shouldn't eat it, but the food allergy or sensitivity test says I can eat it, then I will eat it if it is something I like that I've decided is within the boundaries of my live it instead of diet, which is a term my cousin Tim shared from his teacher Daweed at foryouhealthclass.com. I missed the class, but I like that terminology change. And of course, I have to provide the spiritual component within this video. And of course, being the spiritual person I am, I go inward to test the foods I could be eating spiritually. I'm sure some of you might be rolling your eyes now, or will be in a couple minutes. So there are a couple ways to spiritually test the foods you should be eating. One is through kinesiology or muscle testing. You would need to check it out to see if it was something you wanted to try. It not only works for testing for food, but for all the decisions you make for yourself. I use it occasionally, but I recently bought a class I'm looking forward to taking. More to come. And the final type of spiritual testing is to channel a spirit guide to see if you should eat the food or type of food in question. This is called divination, and there are many ways to do it. You can use a pendulum or dowsing rods, or I guess maybe tarot cards. I'm not so sure about that one. You could also ask a spirit guide whether you should eat the food or not just before going to sleep. You could later have a dream that directly or indirectly provides an answer. I had several of these dreams without asking that put an end to me drinking beer. I finally got the message. The problem was the yeast. Both yeast brewers and bakers were noted as a 3 in my food sensitivity test. I should have known better, and I did. But what can I say? I'm human. But the message came through very strongly via that spiritual method. I just had to stop fighting it, and I did. Also, whether you use any of the methods presented, there's another thing you might want to seriously consider incorporating into determining the foods you decide to eat. Limit the number of ingredients in the ingredient list. For the most part, I try to eat food with only one ingredient in the ingredient list. Yes, one. And that one should be organic or natural 90% of the time. So I properly food combine several foods each with one ingredient in the ingredient list, like black beans, wild rice, vegetables, or fruit. Just not processed foods out of a box with 30 ingredients, many of which you cannot pronounce. No, I'm not a fanatic. But how the food is prepared also has an impact. Boiling, baking, steaming, and broiling are known to be more healthy methods of cooking than frying, especially with saturated fats, like lard, because it tastes better. If so, you'd better get that food sensitivity test done. Now, I've got a question. Have you heard of the food pyramid? Of course, you've heard of the food pyramid, haven't you? Okay, good. Did you know the food pyramid was recently changed? It was initially the basic 7. Then from 1992 to 2005, the original food pyramid was presented. Then from 2005 to 2011, it was changed to my pyramid. And now it's my plate. And I'm not suggesting that it should never change. That would be dumb, right? As we learn more, we do better. The point is, other people will always have some reason to tell you how you should eat. And they are seemingly always changing their minds for some reason. Wouldn't it be better for you to do the self-work to decide how you think you should eat? You know, like to know thyself, unless you've already done this work. If so, congratulations to you. Interestingly, many years ago, I found or was sent this PDF titled God's Pharmacy. This information, though I've seen no empirical evidence, some people need this. I definitely utilize this for health-related food choices. I searched and found it online. At this link, it will be in the show notes. God's Pharmacy. It's been said that God first separated the salt water from the fresh, made dry land, planted a garden, made animals and fish, all before making a human. He made and provided what we need before we were born. These are best and more powerful when eaten raw. We are such slow learners. God left us a great clue as to what foods help what part of our body. God's Pharmacy? Amazing. Carrot. A sliced carrot looks like the human eye. The pupil, iris, and radiating lines look just like the human eye. And yes, science now shows carrots greatly enhance blood flow to and function of the eyes. Tomato. A tomato has 4 chambers and is red. The heart has 4 chambers and is red. All of the research shows tomatoes are loaded with lycopene and are indeed pure heart and blood food. grapes. Grapes hanging in a cluster that has the shape of the heart. Each grape looks like a blood cell, and all of the research today shows grapes are also profound heart and blood vitalizing food. Walnuts. A walnut looks like a little brain, a left and right hemisphere, upper cerebrums, and lower cerebellums. Even the wrinkles or fold on the nut are just like the neocortex. We now know walnuts help develop more than 3 dozen neuron transmitters for brain function. Kidney beans. Kidney beans actually heal and help maintain kidney function, and eyes, they look exactly like the human kidneys. Celery. Celery, bok choy, rhubarb, and many more look just like bones. These foods specifically target bone strength. Bones are 23% sodium, and these foods are 23% sodium. If you don't have enough sodium in your diet, the body pulls it from the bones, thus making them weak. These foods replenish the skeletal needs of the body. Avocados, eggplant, and pears. Avocados, eggplant, and pears target the health and function of the womb and cervix of the female. They look just like these organs. Today's research shows that when a woman eats 1 avocado a week, it balances hormones, sheds unwanted birth weight, and prevents cervical cancers. And how profound is this? It takes exactly 9 months to grow an avocado from blossom to ripened fruit. There are over 14,000 photolytic chemical constituents of nutrition in each one of these foods. Modern science has only studied and named about 141 of them. Figure. Figs are full of seeds and hang in twos when they grow. Figs increase the mobility of male sperm and increase the number of sperm, as well as overcome male sterility. Sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes look like the pancreas and actually balance the glycemic index of diabetics. Olives. Olives assist the health and function of the ovaries. And oranges, grapefruit, and other citrus fruits. Oranges, grapefruits, other citrus foods look just like the mammary glands of the female and actually assist the health of the breast and the movement of lymph in and out of the breast. Mulway, onions, garlic. Onions look like the body cell. Today's research shows onions help clear waste materials from all of the body cells. They even produce tears, which wash the epithelial layers of the eyes. A working companion, garlic, also help eliminate the waste materials and dangerous free radicals from the body. At the end, the document continues by stating, "Hello, please don't break this even if you only send it to one person. Look at the date when this was started. Thanks." At the end, the date the candle was started. Gonna give you goosebumps. I am not going to be the one who lets it die. I found it believable. This candle was lit on the 15th of September, 1998. Someone who loves you has helped keep it alive by sending it to you. Don't let the candle of love, hope, and friendship die. Pass it on to all of your friends and everyone you love. I received this today for the first time, and I hope it comes back someday again. Please keep this candle alive. So we know a bit about how I eat and maybe some less conventional ways of eating. Now let's also get into a little of the why people eat or diet the way they do. Then I'll provide the why to how I eat like I do and what's coming in the future. In their blog, 22 most popular diets in USA, 2023 statistics and surveys, they discuss diet and nutrition trends in the US as of March 2023. In their ranking of diet trends, they found the highest trending diet was a low-carb, no-carb diet at 19% of respondents. Next was lactose-free eating, for example, no dairy products at 12%. Gluten-free, for example, no wheat, and flexitarian were tied next at a close 11%. Vegetarian was next at for 5th place at 5%. Pescatarian and vegan were tied next at for 6th place at 4% each. And other is next with 7%. And I don't follow any nutrition rules rounded out the survey with a whopping 50%. In 2023, after COVID, I said I'd provide the why to how I eat like I do and what's coming in the future. So I must be in the next to last category of other at 7%. My primary reason for eating like this is spiritual. It began from the perspective of health, but it has evolved. My spiritual goals are dictating my eating methodology. In the near future, I plan to do more fasting and less eating. We'll see how that goes. Years ago, on my spiritual journey, I learned about the fast of Ramadan in Islam. I fasted for over a decade. Many of my Muslim friends said I was more Muslim than some of the Muslims they knew. Back then, my Christian and Jewish friends said similar things. I'm not quite sure what they say today. I'd guess they're all praying for me, for some reason. Obviously, there are many reasons you should be a bit skeptical about the food or matter you are eating. I'll just hit the high points and leave some links if you need to go deeper. I'll cover what happened to our food. In the 70s, fast food exploded. Fast food chains like McDonald's were shaping the modern diet. Then GMO, genetically modified foods, were created and the government approved them for broad consumption. The 1980s food industry shift, a turning point for U.S. health and wellness. April 14th, 2025. The 1980s were a pivotal decade for the U.S. food industry, with decisions made during this time continuing to shape the nation's public health landscape. The food system, once largely focused on fresh, whole foods, rapidly shifted toward ultra-processed foods and ingredients that would define American diets for decades. The widespread adoption of high-fructose corn syrup, HFCS, artificial sweeteners, and low-fat processed foods had profound impacts on American health. These shifts were driven by scientific discoveries, FDA regulatory changes, and corporate interests that redefined how food was produced, marketed, and consumed. Meanwhile, the FDA, under the Reagan administration, began taking a less stringent approach to food regulation, pushing forward with policies that prioritize industry interests over consumer health. Regulatory changes often favored big food companies, from relaxed labeling laws to the introduction of artificial ingredients in processed foods, leading to a significant rise in the availability of unhealthy, cheap food options. The consequences: obesity, chronic disease, and healthcare strain. These industry shifts have had lasting effects on American health. In the decades following the 1980s, obesity rates surged, with more than 40% of American adults now classified as obese, compared to 15% in the 1980s. Obesity-related diseases such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension have followed a similar trajectory. As more Americans consume sugar-laden and processed foods, the prevalence of these conditions skyrocketed, placing an immense strain on the U.S. healthcare system. Despite spending 3 times more on healthcare than European nations, the U.S. has worse health outcomes. Americans live shorter lives and suffer higher rates of chronic diseases than citizens in other developed countries, even though healthcare spending per capita is the highest in the world. Much of this spending is directed toward disease management rather than prevention, with the pharmaceutical and insurance industries benefiting from ongoing treatment of lifestyle-related conditions rather than addressing root causes. Released in September 12, 2024, the CDC's new CDC data show adult obesity prevalence remains high. New CDC population data from 2023 show that in 23 states, more than 1 in 3 adults, 35%, has obesity. Before 2013, no state had an adult obesity prevalence at or above 35%. Currently, at least 1 in 5 adults, 20% in each U.S. state, is living with obesity. Food documentaries. And there are plenty of documentaries that lay out the problems and some solutions. One of the biggest ones presented in 2004, Super Size Me. The 22 best food documentaries of all time, the ultimate list includes Super Size Me, 2004, King Corn, 2007, Food Fight, 2008, Food Inc. Mouse, 2008, Forks Over Knives, 2011, Vegicated, 2011, That Sugar Film, 2014, Fed Up, 2014, Cowspiracy, The Sustainability Secret, 2014, What the Health, 2017, and Rotten, 2018. Here are some of the milestones that happened across the years. 1971 AD, first fast food chains expand. Global giants like McDonald's shape modern diets and fast dining culture. Milestones in U.S. Food and Drug Law. 1981. FDA and the Department of Health and Human Services revised regulations for human subject protections based on the 1979 Belmont Report, which had been issued by the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research. The revised rules provide for wider representation on institutional review boards, and they detail elements of what constitutes informed consent, among other provisions. 1982. AD, first GMO crop created. Scientists genetically modify plants to enhance traits like resistance and yield. 1994, AD, FDA approves. GMO foods, the first genetically modified tomato goes to market in the U.S. 2001 AD, organic food boom. Demand for pesticide-free and sustainable foods grows rapidly worldwide. And then there are the banned U.S. foods. And I'm pretty sure you know that the foods some of us eat in the U.S. are banned in the European Union. They're banned due to, 1, prohibited food additives and artificial colors. To their credit, MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, is trying to get some of these dyes out of our food now. A broken clock is still right twice a day comes to mind. 2, hormone-treated animal products, basically growth hormones like testosterone and more. 3, GMOs, genetically modified organisms, can be genetically modified to reject pests and increase growth. 4, specific agricultural and processing methods, like washing chicken with chlorine chicken. 5, pesticide residue standards. The EU and other countries reject 85% of the pesticides we use. The EU also bans trans fats, which is hydrogen added to vegetable oil, and brominated vegetable oil for citrus-flavored soft drinks like Mountain Dew and Gatorade. 15 specific foods that are banned in Europe are Twinkies, stovetop stuffing, Skittles, Coffee Mate, U.S. pork, Ritz crackers, U.S. prepackaged beef, Swiss rolls, maraschino cherries, farm salmon, U.S. milk, Mountain Dew, U.S. chicken, Fruit Loops, and U.S. corn. Damn, that'll cut some weight off you. There is so much to add about how improper nutrition and lack of good medical incentives greatly negatively impact Americans' health. Unlike in many other high-income countries, I'll leave some links in the show notes. If you're interested, I also will leave a couple links regarding food industry statistics and food insecurity in the show notes. They have some interesting information to review. And if you've made it this far and want to see how the definition change enables the food to change, check these out. Oh, I got to give some quick definitions. I'll proceed from the most recent to the oldest definitions of food that I can find. They are also very interesting. Definition of the word food, it doesn't matter which dictionary. All the online definitions describe the problem. Let's go with biologyonline.com. Food. 1, a form of nourishing substance that is consumed. 2, a substance that provides nourishment. 3, a source of nutrient, especially a solid substance that is fed upon to be metabolized to gain energy or molecules essential for the organism's continued existence. Also from biologyonline.com, definition of the word substance. What is a substance? The word substance finds varied usages in different science fields. In general science, a substance, noun, is a word used to refer to any type of matter or material. It can be used interchangeably with the word material, matter definition. In classical physics and general chemistry, matter is any substance that has mass and takes up space by having volume. All everyday objects that can be touched are ultimately composed of atoms, which are made up of interacting subatomic particles. In everyday as well as scientific usage, matter generally includes atoms and anything made up of them, and any particles or combination of particles that act as if they have both rest mass and volume. These are all contemporary definitions. And if you're one of the people who only believes what you can see, touch, smell, feel, taste, I get it. But do changing definitions mean anything? If not, okay. The great thing so far in America is that you can have it your way and I can have it mine. The definition of food from the Essential Dictionary of Science, copyright 2004. Food, anything eaten by human beings and other animals or absorbed by plants to sustain life and health. The building blocks of food are nutrients, and humans can utilize the following nutrients: carbohydrates as starches found in bread, potatoes, and pasta, as simple sugars in sucrose and honey, and as fibers in cereals, fruit, and vegetables, proteins from nuts, fish, meat, eggs, milk, and some vegetables, fats as found in most animal products, meat, lard, dairy products, fish, also in margarine, nuts and seeds, olives, and edible oils, vitamins found in a wide variety of foods, for example, calcium from milk and broccoli, iodine from seafood, and iron from liver and green vegetables. The New Lexicon Webster's Dictionary, copyright 1987. Food: any substance which, by a process of metabolism, a living organism can convert into fresh tissue, energy, etc. A solid substance eaten for nourishment. Ye appears drink, especially this as serve as a meal. Something which can be put into constructive use. Well, food for thought. The Random House Dictionary, copyright 1978. 1. Any nourishing substance eaten or otherwise taken into the body to sustain life, promote growth, etc. 2. Solid nourishment as distinguished from liquids. 3. Any nourishment, a plant food. 4. Anything serving for consumption or use. Food for thought. Intermediate Dictionary Scribner, copyright 1986. Food: 1. Something that is eaten or taken in by a plant or animal to sustain life, provide energy, and aid in growth and repair of tissues. Nourishment. 2. Nourishment that is eaten rather than drunk. 3. Something that stimulates or aids in activity. Food for thought. Did you notice that food went from nourishment to substance? The definition of nourishment. The definition of food from the Essential Dictionary of Science, copyright 2004. The word nourish is not included, nor is the word nourishment. The definition of the word nourish, the New Lexicon Webster's Dictionary, copyright 1987. 1. To supply or sustain with food. 2. To foster or keep alive in the mind. The Random House Dictionary, copyright 1987. 1. To sustain with food or nutriment. And 2. To strengthen or promote. The Intermediate Dictionary, copyright 1986. 1. To furnish with food and other substances necessary to life and growth. 2. To promote the development of, foster. I have gotten off YouTube comments on the definitions being very helpful in framing some thought around these topics. So I hope these definitions are still helpful. Years ago in New York, an attempt was made to reduce the size of overly sugary drinks, like Slurpees. The people almost lost their minds. What do you think companies should do when they see people fighting for what they all know are unhealthy options? As you know, on this channel, I have to restate it more directly as, what are you deciding about the food options you put before you? We discussed how, unlike 50% of the respondents of the survey we reviewed, personalizing your eating, employing various eating modalities, not eating based on other people's dietary determinations, and why we may or may not choose a particular diet is a great approach to the architecture of eating. Because this is such a vast topic, there are several areas of eating that we did not discuss, like food as medicine, especially herbs and spices used as seasonings or teas, personal metabolism and how that fits into eating in the future, issues with various diets and the various positive and negative effects food can have on illness and wellness. Many want to get control over their eating and health, but can't seem to do it. Why? If they are deciding they want to improve, then why can't they do it? Who is in control of their decision making? Who? From the law of one perspective, we have three major components of complexes of our beingness. They are the mind complex, the body complex, and the spirit complex. In the Law of One, the Raw Material Book 4, page 57, Ra, who shared the Law of One with those who we call the Egyptians, has dialogue that goes as follows.
Channeling Ra Contact Session 81. March 22nd, 1982. 81.14 questioner. And finally, the 14th, The Way of the Body, is called The Alchemist because there is an infinity of time for the various bodies to operate within, to learn the lessons necessary for evolution. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is less than completely correct, as the great way of the body must be seen, as are all the archetypes of the body, to be a mirror image of the thrust of the activity of the mind. The body is the creature of the mind and is the instrument of manifestation for the fruits of mind and spirit. Therefore, you may see the body as providing the athanor through which the alchemist manifests gold. 1.
And the footnotes.
1. In this context, athanor can be defined as an oven/a fire, a digesting furnace, formerly used in alchemy, so constructed as to maintain a uniform and constant heat.
Earlier in the channelings, Ra explains the sequence for enabling spiritual growth and how the mind and body impact this growth.
Channeling Ra Contact Session, 6 January 24th, 1981. The spiritual body energy field is a pathway or channel. When body and mind are receptive and open, then the spirit can become a functioning shuttle or communicator from the entity's individual energy of will upwards and from the streamings of the creative fire and wind downwards. The healing ability, like all other, what this instrument would call paranormal abilities, is affected by the opening of a pathway or shuttle into intelligent infinity.
Does it stand to reason that the mind complex would control the body complex? When you are sick and in pain, is it more difficult for you to reason or think? Yes. You have to shut down to allow the body or the mind to recover. As an example of the body controlling the body, I have known people who cannot swallow pills. They can swallow all manner of foods, but not pills. I have taken some of these people through a process that enables them to swallow pills. As soon as I am not there, they can no longer swallow pills. That's the body complex in control over the mind complex. What or who is regulating this process? Food for thought. I hope you appreciated this video on my architecture of eating. It was not as short as I had planned. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or you would like for me to focus on regarding eating. I'll be dropping some other aspects of how are you in the near future. Adne.